Hi, it's Paul Lawrence Van. Glad to be with you today. And there's always something good to share about leadership. And my mantra is we're all leaders and we all have a life to lead. So never forget that, no matter what level that you happen to be in your life as a part of your journey, there's also what we call a leadership journey, of which I will share in future videos. But a good day to you, and I hope that you're doing well. I'm doing well. And today, what I'm going to be talking about is I want leaders as well as Generation Z to understand each other better. And so when it gets down to leaders today, they may be baby boomers, millennials, and perhaps their generation did things a lot different than Generation Z. Generation Z is our latest generation that's come about. And so they approach things a lot differently, especially in the workplace and in the workforce. And so that's what I'm going to talk about today. And leaders will need to know how to connect with Generation Z because they are part of the team. And guess what? They're also a part of the future. So they will be leading things in the future when people like me and perhaps some of the more older people, our workers, our employees and leaders and managers, we are into that retirement age. And so it would be the Generation Z and their generation after them who will actually be running companies, running this country. So it behooves all leaders to understand and better understand Generation Z and not just let things be how they've always been. And that's part of what this issue is about today. It's about the fact that Generation Z, the youth or the younger employees, they think that some things are broken. Okay. And we're just talking about the business itself. And there could be a case for it, but as I share more and more with you, perhaps you may be able to see that point. And they want fundamental change. It's not incremental. They're the type of generation that wants action now. They don't want to wait. The older generation tend to do things increments. Take your time. Let's not rush things. In other words, don't really want to change a whole lot. But that's not what Generation Z is calling the leaders to do. And so they are observing you all. And it's important that you all understand, listen. And I'm going to point out some things to you. For example, when I was coming up through the ranks, if you will, from a career and business standpoint, I listened to my elders. In fact, the mantra for me growing up with my parents was to do good in school. We want you to attend your sanctuary where your faith is on Sundays and to respect yourself and your elders. That's kind of what the paradigm was for me and my 9 siblings. So those things have changed. In fact, they've gone out the window. And how do I know this? Because I have 2 children and they both happen to be, you guessed it, Generation Z. And of course, I love them. Just thought I'd throw that in there. But the things that the Generation Z, when it comes to working and some of the things that they want to sense that the leadership understands them. And a lot of times they don't feel that way. And so they want to make more of what we call the employee engagement with leadership and with their supervisor. They want to know what's going on so that they can make a difference and how they can make a difference. And so they look at their leaders to see, if is this what I really want? And so that's where this all comes in. And some of the qualities that they're looking at for their leaders, that's Generation Z looking at their leaders, is they're looking to see if they have humility, if they have a different perspective, and if that perspective is, do they want change? Because Generation Z is all about change. And then they want to know if that leader has courage, and then if that leader has people skills, communication, the self-awareness, and more like that. So they believe there are not enough good leaders out there. So given the fact that they will be leaders of the future, they're coming up with some plans and they're preparing themselves to one day lead. And a lot of them aren't waiting. You see some of them, that are actually running for public office, not only in the state legislature, but also from the national legislation, Congress, US Congress, and different things such as that. So it's not something that's going to go away. And so I think it's very important that everyone in what I call that three-legged stool work together. And what is the three-legged stool? It's the person that does, in fact, have the leadership title. Then there's the manager who works for the leader with the leadership title, and then there's the employee. So there you have it. You have your three-legged stool. And it's great if they can all work together and they can have the same mission. And we want to see if they have the same understanding. And I think today what the Generation Z wants is for their leader, the one with the title, to actually lead, and they want changes and they want immediate feedback. And so those are some of the things. And then they have their expectations of what they want the leader to be as well. And so it's important that everyone who is involved understands that. And they want to know what it takes to be a good leader, because change is happening on a daily basis, especially in the workforce and the workplace, because we have the hybrid organizations now, our protocols now in place where some employees can not only work in the office, some will also work from home. And that fits directly into the protocol of the Generation Z, because they have grown up with a computer, smartphone, and tablets and virtual environments. So it fits right in. They can still get a lot done than a person who may be a baby boomer or a millennial. And so it's very important that we understand from that standpoint that they have tech on their side. You have the chat GPT, the AI, that might be old technology for some of the Gen Z. They're way ahead, and they know how to get things done, and they don't mind change, because that's really what they're all about. And so I think it's very important that leaders understand that. And they want changes, and they don't want just basic changes. They want fundamental changes. In other words, what are the work hours? What are the work policies? We want some change in those. We want some change in that salary. We want some change in those benefits. So there's different changes that they want. And really, when you get down to it, employees really have the upper hand right now, because if a company is operating and if you don't have employees, well, what happened with the pandemic? Some of them offices shuttered. Some went out of business. Some are slow to get back going again. So their productivity is down. So they need to hire more employees. They need to hire better employees. And many of them will be Generation Z, because some of them are coming in to that college age, high school, college age. And so they are the future. And so we all have to work with the future. And it really behooves everyone to be on the same sheet of music, if you will. And so another aspect to consider, or is of worth noting, is that of social and emotional intelligence. In other words, that has more to do with how Generation Z views things than anything else, because they like being socially active, they believe in change, and they know that they're looking for different characteristics of a leader that will help them to become better. And so they want to really cultivate emotional intelligence. So they want to work on some of those soft skills that are out there. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. And of course, when it comes to emotional intelligence, it's the opposite of a human arrogance or stubbornness or gaslighting situations on the job. And they believe in being respected and not doing things in the old way, of what we used to call in the military the brown shoe approach, which means you do it my way or you're out of here. Well, for Generation Z, that's not going to work. I can tell you that right now. You're going to run into a roadblock on that one, and it does come down to having those soft skills and having empathy and being in the other person's shoes. Given today's climate, we're coming out of a horrendous a pandemic, and so people are adjusting, and those adjustments have come in the form of technology as well. But in the end, it's people who would do the work, and so you have to work with the youth of the day to make things happen. So one of the things that I would say for leadership today is to have some social smarts. And so emotional intelligence can develop over time. And that's really the positioning that leadership should be in management as well, because you know your number one asset is your employees. They're the people who are going to get the work done. And then emotional intelligence, some predictors of what it does entail is for young people is that they have more satisfaction on the job if their leader has good emotional intelligence qualities. It also means that there's more of a commitment to the organization on the part of the Generation Z. They're more committed because they feel that you have their best interests in mind when you work. And then there's an employee retention. You have to be concerned with that because nowadays you can't really push someone in a corner because they have options. And some of those options may be they'll go for another company to work for them or they'll start their own business. And especially in that technology industry, a startup starts every day, a new startup. So you want to really keep that talent, the top talent, and it's one of the greatest challenges of leadership today. So you want to be cognizant of that. And then you want to help for Generation Z, they want to help their coworkers beyond what their work is. So they want to build strong relationships. And by having this social and emotional intelligence intact and that being a leader, this helps and that helps the process. It really takes them a lot further. So what are some of the things that you as a leader can do? And it really comes back into that social and emotional intelligence piece that I talked about earlier, coming in with humility. And humility means that individual is teachable, meaning that they're not set in their ways. They're willing to compromise, they're willing to make changes, and they're willing to do it for the betterment of the organization, in particular, the employees. And when we look at Generation Z, this is how they like to operate. Not all of them, but some of them. And so it's something to consider. And then it's all about perspective. And that's coming up with different life hacks. And even though a leader has more experience, they can share that experience, but not so much from being on a pedestal, but more so, hey, here's a shortcut. This is a quicker way of doing it. Or here's a life hack that you might consider, as opposed to the everyday rudimentary type of policies that are out there. But you can help them to find ways to do things better. And perhaps we'll see more productivity coming as a result of that. And then courage. Generation Z like to see their leaders have some courage and what they stand for on social issues. This is important to them. And things such as homelessness or climate change. It could very well be gun control issues for safety in the workplace. So there are a lot of different things that Generation Z that they see and they're willing to get involved with, whereas someone in the baby boomer generation or millennials may not decide that they want to go down that path. And a lot of that is because that's kind of what they're used to in the workplace. And then there's that social skills. Again, I talked about that self-awareness, self-management, and then social awareness. And all of these things are important to Generation Z and something that leadership really should give consideration to. And when it comes to Generation Z, they simply want to be heard. That if they make a point in a meeting or make a suggestion, they don't want it to be given short shrift to just, oh, well, we'll consider that later. They want to know that you're willing to give some consideration to what they want to do and how they want to do it. And then they want frequent check-ins. And this is something I mentioned in some of the earlier videos that episodes of Leadership as Influence is that they want to know where they stand. If they're working on a project, they don't want to know how they're doing. They don't want to wait for an annual evaluation to find out because they can turn things around quicker if you would tell me now. This is kind of the approach that they would take. And they want to know that you trust them if they have an innovative project that they're working on. And so all of these things are very important. And when it comes to Generation Z, they are very dynamic. They really want to get things done and they want to affect positive change. And that's different than my generation coming up, whereas we were basically just given what we had. We didn't have technology then, not to the extent of today, whereby I say I grew up with it, or someone else, a more senior person, grew up with this technology. So what that means is there's a lot to learn. And if you're open to learning, the Generation Z is willing to show you some life hacks and show you some shortcuts of how to do things to be more productive and again, to maximize that human potential and improve the bottom line. And so that's what I want to talk about today, the impact of Generation Z. And they are more than willing to do the work. They just want you to work with them. And they believe that there are some things that need to be changed. The old way of doing things is not the way that they want to do things. So if you have an open mind and you're willing to listen, you'll soon discover that they are one of your best assets because again, they're going to be leading in the future. They'll be leading the government. They'll be captains of industry. They will be the people calling the shots, as they say. So it really would behoove you to do that. And I just want to share a short story with you. One of my leadership experiences I had in my very first leadership training programs with the U.S. Air Force as a military officer. I had been promoted to captain, and then the following year, I took on a new assignment. And just before going on that assignment, I went through what's called Squadron Officer School. So it's like the entry-level leadership school for a military officer, a junior officer like myself at the time. And we had a guest speaker in, and her name was Admiral Grace Hooper. And for you in Generation Z, she's the reason why you have technology today, because she wrote the languages for COBOL and a lot of the other computer applications that people are using today. So you have Admiral Grace Hooper to thank for that. And she's always been one of my heroes in life. And I've met her, listened to her presentation, and this is the quote that I drew from her that I have lived by since that day that I met her and listened to her deliver her presentation in my leadership class. And she stated that we manage resources and manage things, but we are to lead people. Sadly enough, we did too much management and not enough leading. And I'm sharing that with you because I want you to understand that when it comes to leadership, it's all about people, and it always will be about people. And so the things that we manage, for example, I manage multi-billion-dollar projects in the United States Air Force, and those were the resources that I managed. But I also led people, and leading the people is the most important aspect of leadership. And so it's something that I'm sharing with you that maybe you can make a note of it and that you can apply it to your life. Because remember, in some of the earlier videos, if you've seen them, if you haven't, go back and take a look at them. And while you're there, subscribe. And I want you to know that no matter what position you're in, if you're in McDonald's and you're flipping hamburgers, you're still in a leadership position. And you're saying, no, I'm not, because I'm not being paid that way. No, you're not. But what you are doing, you're responsible for the resource that's going out. And that resource may be burger, fries, and a shake. But so you're leading. Without your input in your leadership role, that product would not get to the customer. So you are a leader and you have a life to lead. Even if you're staying at your parents' house, you still have an individual life that you lead. So everyone is a leader. Now, you don't have the title, but using that same example, you're working at McDonald's, eventually, and I've seen it, some people become the manager. They manage the McDonald's, or they purchase the McDonald's. They will purchase the franchise. And typically, when you purchase one franchise, you can purchase another. So you are in a leadership position. I don't care what industry you're in, I don't care what line of work you're in, you are a leader. And in order to reinforce and build your leadership muscles, you need to do those things that the company requires of you and do it with excellence. So excel at a higher level than your peers, because now you have the knowledge to do so. And so that's what I wanted to share with you today, that takeaway. And I learned it at a young age, and I'm giving it to you as my gift to you. But if you never forget that, you manage things and resources and you lead people, starting with yourself, you're on your way to huge success. You're a greater asset for those that you work for and you work with. And when one day, if you decide you want to lead your own business and become an entrepreneur, you already have the leadership skills that are needed to lead a successful business if you choose to do so, or if you choose to be the president or CEO of a company, or become the president of a university or chancellor. So it's something that I want people to know. And I've always been in leadership my entire life, is what I tell people, because that is the case. And so my leadership journey started at the age of 10, working as an intern in my parents' community grocery store. And you say, well, how could you be a leader if you were interning? You weren't even being paid. Well, I had a roof over my head and I was helping my parents to bring in extra income in what was called their side hustle, which is Van's Groceries. And I work with vendors. So when people deliver the sodas, people deliver the ice cream, the bread, the milk, the eggs, I was signing contracts, just initially in that case at that age, after school. And then I did that for 5 years. So I was actually being indoctrinated to the business world before I was a preteen. But so I was in a leadership position. And then I stocked the shelves. So I was doing inventory. It's no wonder that I majored in business and accounting, because I was doing accounting when I'm stocking the shelves. A box of canned goods come in, I stock them. I have to keep up with that. How much do we pay for it? How much will we sell it for? And then customers who wanted credit. So I had to take cash if it's a cash purchase, or credit if someone purchases credit. And so there were a lot of things that I was doing as a preteen that my peers were out playing sports. And then it took me years later to catch up with them. So at 15, I finally made it to high school, and I was joined a team, and I participated in joint as a JV, junior varsity athlete, because I lost 4 years in preparing to become a football player in high school. And then my senior year, I started. So it everything worked out. And so I was taking on more leadership, because playing football, I had a position to play. So I had to defend, as a defensive end, I had to defend my spot to help the team, the other 11 members on the defensive team, the other 10 members on the defensive team, to cut down on the touchdowns the opposition would give. So it was more leadership. There was teamwork, there was team building, there was determination, there was focus. And so all along the line, I want all of you, if you're on the cheerleading team, if you are a athlete, student athlete in high school, you are a leader, and you're representing your community, your city, or your county. So this is what I wanted to impart with you today. And if you are a professional, you finished college, then what that means is that you are a leader. If it's your first job or it's your third job, you're still a leader, no matter what. So if you want to reach out and learn more about me, I have posted here on this video, I put in my link where you can go in and learn more about what I provide, which is speaking, leadership development training. I write books. I provide digital courses. I write courseware. And of course, I have one, how to become a influential leader, a leader of influence. And so there are a lot of different projects I have out there. I have also a podcast, Wealth Academy podcast, where I talk about personal finances and how to become financially free. And also this particular uh, video here and my playlist for YouTube, I also will have a podcast coming as well. But you can go to https://link, LINK, and then tr.ee/Paul Lawrence Van, and you'll be able to learn even more about me. And that will really assist you if you have any questions. And I do look forward to entertaining any questions that you have. So this takes care of this episode today. Again, this title is all about how leadership work to better understand Generation Z and how that can really help you to be able to provide an inclusive workplace environment for the Generation Z employees. Thank you so much. I'll see you on the next episode that is coming your way. And enjoy your day. Again, my name is Paul Lawrence Van. It's an honor and a pleasure to connect with you. And as I always say, my time is up, and I thank you for yours. Have a good day and take care for now. Goodbye.